This happened to me several years ago when I was around 20 years old. I had just gotten my driver's license and started working for my uncle who had a carrier. It was a Thursday. I would make a delivery on a farm. I picked up the load in the city and headed towards the farm, which was pretty distant, about 140 miles away probably, but it was worth it. I really needed to get distracted a little and be without any worries about my family for a while. I was on the road for some time. It was almost 1 in the morning when the truck choked while going up a hill. The truck started to choke and jerk until I stopped at the side of the road. I did not believe that it was happening to me, even though the truck was a little bit old. It was an old Mercedes trunk truck, and my uncle had already bought it used a few years ago. It was a lack of luck, because according to my calculations, it would take another 30 to 40 minutes to get to the farm. The only thing that I knew was that it was not a lack of fuel, since the pointer was still at 3/4 and I had filled the tank on the way. I jumped out from the truck and even opened up the hood. Keep in mind that at the time, I did not really have a mechanical understanding like I have now. I didn't really know that much about vehicles. I was hoping only to see something loose or something that I could easily fix. Unfortunately, I did not know much about diesel engines at the time. I wondered what to do. It felt like the end of the world. There were no lights in the distance and no cars in sight, no one to help. It was not a main road but a secondary one. For the condition that the road was in, it was not widely used because there was no light and it was surrounded by woods on both sides, so most people just swerved it if they could. I had already closed the hood and I was still just thinking. I did not know what to do to get out of that mess. And then I heard footsteps in the forest on the sides of the road. I tried to look around me to see anything, but even with the headlights of the truck, I saw nothing at all. That footstep sounds, though, they made me really alert. I heard voices, but I could not even know where they came from. I could not make out the direction. That's when I saw a man, followed soon after by a woman. But they walked without moving their bodies, if that makes sense. When they got closer, I could see that they glided, as if their feet just stayed inches from the ground. No footsteps at all. They just glided to walk around. That was enough for me to start shaking and crouch out of fear behind the trunk of the truck. Now I could see them clearly, following the direction of the road, just gliding along, off of the ground, going in the opposite direction that I was going before the truck stopped. They were figures that were human, but they were not human in the way that they walked. They just glided. As they passed by, I could see their faces. They were a woman and an old man, with completely black eyes and mouth. Their skin was pale and had this reddish color. I was totally scared and paralyzed by what I was seeing. I never believed in supernatural stories. I always thought people just fantasized these things or made them up. I stayed quiet for a bit more time, just squatting down. The figures had already disappeared for some time, but I simply did not react, just in case they came straight back. It was when my knees started to ache, and then I started to move and think about what to do. Soon, I started hearing a strange noise. It was like a gargle, still far away, but no one was there. I realized it was coming from the woods, coming towards me. And that was all that I needed to react. I jumped into the cabin, got the doors locked, and I realized that I was crying in pure terror. My hands were shaking and wet. I tried to turn the ignition and the truck miraculously turned on, and at the same time, I hear a strong bang on the ceiling of the cabin. I screamed in terror. After that, there was another bang on the ceiling, but I had not seen anything above the cabin before entering. They were also banging on the passenger's glass, as if something was punching the passenger door and the glass with their fist. I hit the first gear and accelerated as fast as I could. I had to have the balance to control the gears, because if the truck died on that hill, I think I would end up having a heart attack. I gripped the steering wheel as if it was my lifeline, and so hard that my hands started to ache and my knuckles went white. I was desperate. There was banging in the windows on the other side, and now there was banging on the hood of the truck. Even so, there was nothing there. I cried desperately and gritted my teeth as if it gave me some comfort. It was an uphill road. It was not too high, but for a heavy truck, it could not be worse. The banging continued. I kept trying to control myself, grabbing the wheel as hard as I could and praying that I would make it out of there. I was still in first gear. My biggest fear was to go into second gear and the truck just turning off right then and there. I waited for more speed, then switched to second gear, even though the engine was screaming and asking for third gear already, because there was practically no ascent anymore. I was finally able to just breathe as I came out of a curve and saw a descent. I was no longer paying attention to the bangs outside the cabin. I just tried to put them out of my mind and just drive away. The engine stayed solid. It kept going. I ended up moving up to fourth gear and nothing unusual happened to the engine. I followed the road, a little less scared now, but enough to see that I was soaked in sweat, even though it was a cold day. I was totally soaked, and the sweat of my forehead dripped so much that it fell into my eyes and burned. Finally, I took a road that now had some movement, even if rare. I followed for a few more miles, checked the map that the company had provided, and saw that I was already arriving. When I arrived at the farm, it was almost 6 o'clock in the morning. The owner came rushing to greet me because he knew I was on my way and that I would arrive at around this time due to the delay. When he looked at my pitiful condition, he just immediately knew that something bad had happened. That's when he warned me that I had some blood on my shirt, part of the neck of the shirt, and that I had some blood in the corner of my mouth too. When I could, I looked in the mirror to see what had happened. I didn't notice any blood. With the degree of despair I was in and the attempt to get the hell out of there, I guess I must have just gritted my teeth and bit my lips, and it made it hurt. It was a horrible experience. It seemed like I was going to die of fright or a heart attack. I called the company and I begged them to let me go to the main road, which would add another 2 hours to my trip. I also begged them to let me take the truck to get checked out by a mechanic because there was something wrong, and by the end they said I could. I took it to a local mechanic, and he did not find anything abnormal in the engine, saying it was in perfect condition. He deduced that maybe some dirt was sucked into the tank and partially blocked the truck injection, and the body of the cabin that I thought was all wrinkled, it was just totally normal. I went hiking with a friend in Central Florida this one time, and I had a surreal experience that made this dude not want to hike with me ever again. I was about 25 years old at the time this happened, and I meet up with this outdoor bro of mine, who I will call Brad. Brad is one of those kind of minimalist guys. He brings an alpaca blanket, some beers, weed, first aid, small knife, the usual. I have a kukri, a hammock, a water bladder, canteen, also some first aid, and beers and weed, and a little more kit that's a bit irrelevant. Brad has some years on me, but we vibe pretty well. He is a free spirit, and I'm some sort of abomination human. People like Brad are cool, in my opinion. Most of the time, I hike alone on purpose. I've never seen anything spooky, except one time when I crossed paths with a pig. This time, we're somewhere southeast of Orlando. The terrain is pretty mixed. Inside the tree line is solid ground with stable footing. The open ground is grass and bog. The tree grows in patches, so we have to cross the bog to get to the next tree line. It's not too bad, to be honest. I have had worse times in similar environments. There are nauseums fucking everywhere. We don the mosquito nets. It takes about half an hour to cross maybe 20 yards. I get to the tree line with Brad and decide to go to the center and set up a temporary camp and just chill out. We get to the center and drop our packs to begin the good work. Some guy yells at us. He just yells, "Hey." We power spin around towards the voice. I can't see shit other than brush and oaks. Brad speaks back in a tone that says he really doesn't care. He's like, "Who's there?" Brad's a big dude, like 6'7", plays basketball, works as one of those big nurses in hospitals that do the heavy lifting. A real gentle soul, though. We are in hypervigilance mode. We are scanning everything, listening to every single noise, using my peripheral vision as best as I can. It's absolutely still all around. The voice responds, "Just wanted to let you guys know that I'm out here too." What a nice guy. Brad invites him over. "Nah, that's alright, brother. I've got a nice thing set up over. You wanna come check it out?" By this point, I am sketched out. People do not get the drop on me in the woods. I avoid them all the time. I figured this guy was maybe living out here and that we pissed him off. I look at Brad. "Screw it, let's go," he says. I go with Brad into the brush. We walk through a thicket of palmetto, small oaks, weird vines, and crowded pines. We make it to the clearing. We hear a, "Hey." All the debris in a 10-foot diameter is gone. It's just bare ground. There is a dude in a coat with a big hat, sitting on the other side of the cleared ground. Brad says, "What the hell?" My heart is pounding. I feel a feeling of evil or fear. I can't rationalize this dude just sitting out here with no camp. He is just staring at the ground, the edge of his hat blocking his face. He looks up and sort of stretches. Like, he stretched just as anyone else would, but he did not stand up while doing so, and we got a whole view of the dude's body. It was covered in paint or something like paint. His entire face was oily or the shiny black, and there was white and red paint all over him in designs. He was wearing this really long coat that was made of jute or burlap, something cheap, and it was gross. His eyes were so alive, like he was absolutely thrilled that we were there, looking between the both of us in excitement. He raises a gourd in our direction. There is a cork in it, and it has some white designs painted on it. "You guys want some juice?" No thanks, guy." His face does not change. "How about this juice?" He holds up another gourd in his other hand. I ask him what kind of juice it is. "Magic juice." "Oh, okay." Brad asks where he got all the gourds from. I look up. I realize that my awareness is terrible, because there are gourds hanging in all of the trees and the shrubs. Some are birdhouses, some have corks, others are broken, some are rotting. All have white painted designs on them. This guy is just looking up at us and holding 2 gourds up in his hands. We both decline and ask him what's up, if he's alright or injured or something. He keeps asking us if we want some juice, and we keep declining, trying to figure out if we should and set up somewhere else, or head back to the cars and call somebody. And he freaks out. He starts throwing like a temper tantrum, slamming one of the gourds into the ground where it just indented into the sand. He started to rock his shoulders where he sat, and I noticed that he had ropes wrapping around him and his coat real tight, and behind him was all of the debris that had been on the ground, piled in a massive mound, and he was sitting right in front, almost in it. I asked him if he was stuck, and he started crying, and then he started waving his hat back and forth, asking us why we did not want any juice in this dejected voice. I asked, "Are you alright, man?" And he said he wanted his gourd back and that he could not reach it. Brad asked why he could not reach it, and the man made this high-pitched squeal before lowering his head and sobbing, like really ugly sobbing. Brad said screw it again that day, picked up the gourd, and went to the man. Bad decision on Brad's part. When Brad got close enough to the dude, he said, "Here's your gourd," and the dude grabbed Brad's arm and started pulling on him, screaming, "Drink it, come on, drink it." He could not pull Brad, but Brad was having a hard time getting away, and yelled that the guy was tied to something and did not want to hurt him. At no point in this moment was my giant friend in danger, I think, but I thought the opposite at the time. So I run up and just kick this guy in the chest, and he is as solid as a rock. He lets go of Brad and grabs my legs, knocking me on my back. I remember falling backwards in what seemed like slow motion to my brain, watching his face absolutely light up, with the biggest, whitest smile I had ever seen and eyes to match. I got a good look at his body paint. It was these weird white lines swirling around in curves, these red semi and quarter circles. The white paint was similar to what was on the gourds. He pulls my ass right up against whatever thing he's sitting on and pins my thighs to it with his legs. This dude smelled like ass. He was looking at me with a fever or something. It bothered me, and he had me. I thought Brad had died, and I was about to get fucked. Crack. Brad beamed this dude in the head with a full gourd, pulled me away, and then fell over. He kept saying that he just had to calm down and breathe, over and over. I was trying to help him chill out while also gathering myself, and Gourd Bro just starts yelling at us about the goddamn juice again. Like he is so goddamn frustrated about this juice and whatever the hell he's tied to. Like he keeps trying to get up, but he is not going anywhere, stomping his feet and slapping his legs. Absolute toddler fit. I got up and went around him and jumped backwards when he tried to grab me. I got behind him, and the pile in the rope was coming out of the pile. I started moving the stuff out of the way, and the dude just started roaring like the devil. Get away from there. It scared my bowels empty right there, I'm not gonna lie. I brushed enough to see a smooth black surface with those red broken circles on it. I saw the same ropes coming out of the bottom of it as well, going up into the trees where the gourds were growing and hanging, and some more that went off under the surrounding debris when Brad yelled, "What the hell is that?" pointing to some kind of vines approaching at a slow, steady, straightforward path towards the center of the clearing. I had too much at that point, and I think Brad agreed because we both booked it to the sound of that guy wailing for us to come back. And the last thing that I heard him yelling was, "Please," in the loud, roaring voice from before. We ran, crawled, scooted, scuttled, squatted, and moved in any other manner necessary to get through the brush, which was thicker than I remember it being. There were also gourds everywhere, but not with the white paint, but with the black and red paint. Those are what kept us moving so fast. It took way too long to get back to our gear, but it was there just as we left it. I did not hear the man anymore. Brad later said he liked hanging out with me, but that ever since he met me, weird shit would happen way too often in his life. I still don't know what he meant by that, because that was the penultimate strangest thing that has ever happened to me, and nothing like that has ever happened again. People do say that to me a lot though. I have always been called strange, and even my own parents see me in a different light than my siblings. I don't know what any of this, I just try to accept it as it comes. My dad's people are from Bumble Appalachia. I've got no stories myself, but my grandpa told me a bunch when I was a little kid. The one that comes to mind right away is the story he told me about the moving trail. He used to tell me it before I went to bed, and it always spooked the bejesus out of me. Looking back, there isn't much to it, but oh well. Basically, the moving trail was the quickest route to the next town, just an old dirt road. But most everyone avoided it because they said it would shift on you and take you much farther than you ever intended to go. You would wind up walking for hours before you recognized anything. Anyway, Grandpa was a young sprat at the time, I think maybe 11 years old. First thing to know is that his dad was a lousy drinker. Going home usually meant a rough beating, so Grandpa would spend hours alone up in the mountain, avoiding the house. But one day he came home, and his dad was spitting nails, as he put it, just drunk off his ass. Grandpa caught the worst of it. When it was over, he decided that he had had enough and struck out on his own. He was all riled up and did not even realize that he was walking along the moving trail. When he realized it, he got nervous, but nothing looked off, so he just kept going. Soon, he reached a fork in the road. One path went up the mountain, the other went down. Grandpa heads up, but soon the path just hit a dead end at this sort of cliff face. So Grandpa turns around and heads back to the fork in the road, but he never reaches it. He just keeps walking and walking. The path travels through some woods, and when Grandpa emerges from them, he is surprised to find himself face to face with his own house. He hears his dad inside, cursing and yelling up a storm, so he instantly darts back into the woods. But the trail that he was just taking is gone. Nothing but grass and roots and sticks all over the ground. My dad and my Uncle Danny had a really fucked up childhood. My grandpa was an abusive alcoholic. He used to wail on my dad and Uncle Danny all the time growing up. On Grandma too. One day my grandma just got sick of all of the beatings. She blew Grandpa away with the shotgun. R.I.P. Gramps. Dad ended up pretty normal, but Uncle Danny is absolutely nuts. He has always claimed that he could see ghosts and demons and the like. He used to tell me that his ex-wife was a real-life witch. After they broke up, he started getting sick all of the time. My dad said that Uncle Danny blamed it on his witch ex-wife. He used to go to some healer to get protection from her, but he would go through these periods of increased paranoia, saying that she was coming for him. This always culminated in some sort of attack where Uncle Danny would be hospitalized, but the doctors never really found anything wrong. They said that it was likely just stress and they recommended some medication to him. Uncle Danny, though, he would never go on the meds, he would refuse them. Periods of paranoia would still hit every now and then, about twice a year, maybe. And this would always end up with a hospitalization. His attacks usually happened in a public place, like a bar, where he would start freaking out and claim that she was after him. Then he would go unconscious. Anyway, everyone just thought he was nuts, and my dad begged him to get on meds, but Uncle Danny absolutely refused. He just kept going to the healer. One day, the guy straight up told Uncle Danny she is too strong for me and told Uncle Danny not to come back. So one night, Uncle Danny is going especially nuts. He calls Dad up on the phone saying, "She is coming after me. She wants to kill me." Dad is freaked out, thinking his brother is going to have a damn heart attack. He races over to his house in the middle of the night. Uncle Danny is holed up in his room. He is armed. He almost shoots my dad when he comes through the door. He is almost incoherent, keeps babbling shit and saying, "I'm going to die tonight." My dad is pleading with him to put the gun down and leave the house with him. He is planning on trying to get him help or something. Then he sees someone's shadow move past the window. A few seconds later, he hears the front door open and slam shut. He thinks, "Oh damn, she actually has been stalking my brother." He leaves the room to go and confront her before realizing, fuck, she's probably got a gun. But he never sees anybody. As soon as he leaves Uncle Danny in his room, the bedroom door slams shut. My dad tries to get back inside, but the door is not budging at all, no matter how much he pulls it. Then he hears some weird shit. First, Uncle Danny fires off a shot, but then it sounds like he's yanking the trigger, but the gun is not firing. Uncle Danny starts screaming. Then there is a loud sound that visibly shakes the door. Then there is just silence. My dad is finally able to open up the door, and I guess you can guess the rest. Rest in peace, Uncle Danny. His gun is still in his hand. He's got no wounds or scratches or anything on him whatsoever. His eyes are wide open though. It looked like he just died of fright right then and there. The worst part in my dad telling me this story was the way he described my Uncle Danny's screams. He said it sounded like a baby crying. He told me directly, this is a direct quote from him, "I had not heard him scream like that since we were little kids." I had to drive home from DC to Nowhere KS after getting off of active duty. I did not have anything but my car, some clothes, and my late grandpa's old service revolver to my name. I could not leave base until about 5 p.m., which put me in West Virginia after dark. My GPS decided to transfer me between highways via a few back roads. In the meantime, it just quits working. So now I have no cell phone, no GPS, and it's dark in the boonies. I figured I'd call it a night and find my way out from my atlas in the morning. I pull off the road/path, I lock my doors, I put up sunshades on my windows and just try to get some sleep. It was a nice hatchback sleeper setup. I was just starting to doze off when I hear footsteps on gravel. I perk up and it's definitely something on two legs, and it's definitely getting closer to me. So I fumble to get my sidearm without looking, while trying to peek through the shade to see anything at all. It's black. I can't see a damn thing. All the wildlife is silent, and I can hear footsteps circling the car. The back passenger handle starts getting pulled, then the front, then the driver rear, then the hatch, then there's silence. I am hoping they'll think it's abandoned and just go away. I pull back the hammer on the revolver, and as soon as it clicks, there is a pounding on the hatch glass. I rip the sunshade down, and I see a man in an open plaid shirt just going to town on my window with his fists and eyes that I've only seen on a rabbit right before slaughter. We lock eyes and he just starts screaming. Not even words, he's just straight up screaming. So I scream back that I will blow his head off if he does not fuck off. He takes off to the rear of the car. I catch my breath, climb into the driver's seat and start the car and get the hell out of there. Suddenly, my window just explodes into nothing. I later learned that broken spark plugs will do that, and he reaches into the car and yanks me out of the window. I am terrified. I fall awkward as shit as I clear the window. So I'm on the ground, he's kicking the shit out of me, and I'm scrambling, trying to find the gun that I dropped in all the commotion. Seemingly out of nowhere, this random middle-aged guy comes charging out of the woods and decks the fucker. They tussle for a bit. I find the gun underneath the car. Crazy guy number 1 just runs away, and I draw down on crazy number 2. He puts his hands up, asking me not to shoot, and generally just being rational. I asked what he was doing out here, and he said, "Well, I'm not here to fuck spiders." Then explained he's out here on a vacation in a cabin, heard screaming, and came to help. I thanked him and got the hell out of there. I found a Walmart a few towns over and slept underneath a street lamp. I called my dad the next day to tell him I would be late because I had to replace a window and explain what happened. When he heard the spider thing, he laughed and made a joke about his dad always saying that because he had a bunch of Australian pilot buddies. Apparently, it means something like, "The fuck does it look like I'm doing?" Now, my grandpa died before I was born, and I'd actually never seen a photo of him, aside from a service photo when he was about 20 years old. So I get home, and I go to put Grandpa's gun back in Dad's lockbox. I almost shit my pants when I see a photo inside of my dad with the dude that saved me, down to the very exact clothes. I flip it over, and it's got my dad and Grandpa's names on it, and it has the year 1990 on it. So I asked my dad when that picture was, and he says it's special because that was taken the morning of Grandpa's accident. Now, I'm not saying I believe in ghosts, but it's a real messed up coincidence that the guy who saved me from a tweaker is a dead ringer for the guy whose gun I was trying to grab to protect me. This happened to me a few years ago. I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. I'm just a simple boy. I have 2 loving parents and 2 siblings. I'm just living an ordinary life. One day, my aunt comes over with her husband and their child. They have to stay with us for a while. Meh, but sure. Could have used some company that's around the same age as me. Both siblings older than me. I remember it as a very fun time. We actually drove to the neighboring country with them to get some things. My cousin and I both get a remote car. Overall, I remember it to be an amazing era of my childhood. About 12 years later, memories start to pop up. I decide to ask my parents a little bit about it since I did not remember much. They say, "What do you mean, Anon?" I tell them my exact memories of that day. I'm thinking that they're pranking me. Stop this. You're scaring me. Stop with what, Anon? You're the one obviously trying to prank us. I convince them that I'm not lying to them. It turns out that my mom never had a sister, and my father's sister died when he was still little. I remember having some picture of the cousin and me laying around in my room. I search for it for days. I find the picture. I say, explain this. Anon, that's just a painting you made as a child. I guess I was some kind of schizophrenic as a child. This still gives me chills.